Hey guys, how you doing? Gavin here from Star Fresh Personal Training, and this is going to be the second part of the protein Myfitnesspal video. So I went through protein in the last video and how to track it through Myfitnesspal. And now I'm going to talk about the other two macronutrients that everyone seems to be a little bit scared of, a little bit confused about, and I'm going to try and make it easy for you guys, alright? Because do you know what? It isn't that hard. First of all, carbs and fat are just energy. That's all it is, okay? So, end of the day, we store fat in our bodies. It's just excess energy that we store. And if we don't burn off the food that we eat through obviously lack of activity or eating too much, the food that we eat gets broken down and stored as fat. So therefore, it's just energy. And that's all you need to worry about, okay? So there's going to be lots of people in the no carb fat and no carb camp and the fat camp, and you know there's lots and lots of studies done, and there's things like GI foods, low GI, high GI, and all that sort of thing, okay? And do you know what? There's lots of good information, but it's really confusing. And it doesn't need to be confusing. If you can just understand that carbs and fat are just energy, it's going to make your life so much easier. So when you're tracking on MyFitnessPal, all right, the first thing you need to do is track your protein. That is really important because there's certain things, certain things in that protein come from that we can't get except from food. So unless you're eating protein, you're not going to get protein into your body, okay? So that's going to play havoc with the other things. Carbs, though, people will argue that it's a macronutrient we don't need. Well, like I said, there's two camps, and it's entirely up to you which one you believe. But it's what I find is that when you're, the lifestyle that we lead at the moment, there's lots of carbohydrates in the world, okay? And everywhere you go is carbohydrates, everything. And if you try and cut that out, it's going to make things really difficult. So hey, why not just accept it? Understand that you can eat carbs. As I said, the total calories is what's going to determine whether or not you lose weight or gain weight. So the stuff you do in the middle, you can make really optimal, and you can make it better than what you're doing before. But let's just focus on carbs. All right, so carbs, okay, you've got complex and simple. Complex carbs are things like vegetables and fruit, whole grain pastas, whole grain rice, whole grain breads, anything brown something, wholemeal something is complex carbohydrate. Simple carbohydrates are sweets, so things like chocolate, biscuits, cake, packaged stuff, generally simple carbohydrates. That's what you need to know right now. So when you're going to track MyFitnessPal, all right, what you're going to find is that if you got your protein in place, the rest of the stuff will usually be carbs and fat. It'll have some protein in there, but I'm talking a protein source to me is something with over 10 grams of protein in. Anything less than that, you're looking, it's probably going to come under the carbs and fat sort of ratio. And you can look on the back of your packets and it'll tell you anyway. So when you're like scanning and tracking, all this stuff will be sort of loaded onto MyFitnessPal. So MyFitnessPal is going to give you an exact macro breakdown of proteins, fats, and carbs. And do you know what? It's okay. It's okay to have numbers to shoot for. But what you're going to get, what's going to happen is you might get a little bit confused with, oh my god, I've gone over my fat goal, and I've gone low on my carb goal, but I'm still doing my calories. Oh my god, it's a disaster. When it isn't a disaster. Calories are the main one, and you can do what you want in between there, pretty much. So when you're going to be tracking your food and tracking foods that are not protein, okay, so I don't know, let's just think bread, pasta, like I just talked about, even chocolate to some degree, as long as you have a portion size for you, it's going to be okay. It'll fit in there quite nicely and become fats and carbs. All right, you're not going to go too far wrong. And like I said, when I track this, if I go a little bit over on my fat or a little bit higher on my carbs and on my fat, it doesn't really matter too much. It's just an energy source, and we're talking about losing weight here, okay? So it doesn't really matter too much, and what you find is that you'll have a lot more leniency around what you eat. So if you do go out and you do want to have something like an ice cream, have an ice cream. It's fine. Track it in MyFitnessPal. It'll be a combination of carbs and fat, and it'll be fine. And then for the rest of the day, as long as you do that, keep an eye on it, as long as your protein's in place, this stuff will take care of itself. As long as you're in your total calories, you're going to be fine. So next thing. So fat. Fat is important, okay? Fat is important in your diet. And we all need a certain amount of fat in our diets. And simply because without fat in your diet, there's certain vitamins and minerals you can't absorb. And they're in particular D, E, K and A, those vitamins. They're fat-soluble vitamins, which means if you haven't got fat in your diet, you can't digest and you can't absorb those vitamins. So it's really important to have fat in your diet. And there are good fats and bad fats, alright? So with regards to cholesterol, our bodies make cholesterol, alright? And it isn't too much of a problem, right, if you're exercising right and everything else, right? So, but there are certain fats you need to avoid. Certain fats like trans fats. Trans fats are fats that have been hydrogenated to make them solid at room temperature, okay? They're really bad for you. They're the ones that's going to clog your arteries up, and they're the ones that's going to give you health markings. But other fats, good fats you need in your diet. So things like coconut oil, olive oil, they're really good fats to have in your diet, and they're really simple as well. You can buy them in the supermarket and you can cook with them. Olive oil, for argument's sake, you can drizzle on salads. Really important to get in there, okay? You can get fat from nuts and seeds, and it's really important as well. And it's all part of a healthy diet. So when you're looking at this, absolutely, pay attention to your fat. You do need fat in your diet, and it's an energy source as well, which is really good. So when we're tracking, don't get too massively bogged down in the numbers. That's probably the easiest thing, okay? When you're tracking your food and you're trying to get exactly 100 grams of protein or exactly 30 grams of carbs, don't worry about it too much, alright? Because when we're tracking these foods, I think it's about a 10% discretion plus or above the actual what it says on the packet, right? So it's never going to be 100% accurate. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to it. At the end of the day, if you're tracking consistently over time, alright, those numbers, whether it's 10% up or down, and it is going to even out over time. And we tend to eat the same kind of foods all the time anyway. So as long as you're tracking something, the numbers will be okay on their own. Don't get too bogged down in the tracking the numbers, okay? You're going to have good days and bad days. People generally don't eat the same thing every single day, so it's never going to be absolutely perfect. And that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for absolute perfection. What we're looking for is to do better than what you're doing before. Because if you're overweight and struggling with your weight, this is just a different way of trying to keep tabs on what you're eating, okay? So as long as it's improved to what you're doing before, you're going to get results out of it. That's as simple as that, okay? You're not a bodybuilding competitor. You're not an athlete. You're just a normal person that wants to lose a bunch of weight. And you want to maintain your lean muscle mass to boost your metabolism. You want to stay fit and healthy, and this is going to be a way to do it, okay? It's just a tracking tool. And I'll tell you something now, out of everything I'm just saying, total calories are going to be the absolute one. And that's what you need to be focused on, okay? So if you're tracking all this, okay, and personally I've done it, and it really doesn't make much of a difference. So I've done it for an experiment before now where I didn't have much protein and just ate whatever I liked within that spectrum of calories, and I still lost a bit of weight and it was fine. Was I performing as well in the gym? No. I probably felt a little bit tired, yes. So you do feel these things, but don't worry about it, don't beat yourself up about it. All you need to do is take one day at a time, track it and learn from it, okay? What you're going to get as well, which I forgot to mention, is that you're going to get some people or products that claim they're protein products, protein bars, blah blah blah, whatever. Be really careful, guys, because some of those protein bars have got so many carbohydrates in them. You might have like 10 grams of protein and then 20 grams of carbs in there, okay? So if you're trying to hit your protein goal by eating those protein bars, you're going to be kicking yourself, be thinking, because all of a sudden you've gone too much over your carbohydrates because you think it's a protein bar and it's not. So I would say that just be really mindful of protein products. Look at them on the back. It needs to be predominantly protein for it to be a protein bar. If it's protein and more carbs, it's a carb bar. Do you know what I mean? So don't worry about it too much. So the take-home message from this video, okay, is simply get your protein in check. That's going to be the important one, okay? Get your protein done first, and then the rest of the stuff is going to make up your carbs and fat. Yes, there's good fats, and keep an eye out for them and make sure you have them. Avoid trans fats, which are in processed foods normally. Try and stick with complex carbohydrates, the brown rice, pasta, nuts, beans, legumes, all those sort of things. Try and stick with that. Try and avoid as best you can the white stuff, and you'll be well on track, all right? And just adjust as you need to. If you need to have a treat, that's fine. Track it, and as long as you account for it and you're still within your daily calories, that's fine. Let's just say you don't hit your calories for one day, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, okay? If you're chronically under-eating, then that's a problem. But if you miss your calories by 200 or 300 a day, it doesn't matter about it. It gives you a bit of leniency for on the weekend if you want to have a glass of wine or a beer, right? So don't worry too much. But yeah, try and get it in there. And one of the good ways of doing this is that you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about your body and learn a lot about how you eat. And that's what it's all about. It's all about educating yourself to come up with a sustainable long-term way of doing it, right? And yeah, it's going to be a bit challenging. It is, I agree, but it becomes easy. Like anything, when you start doing something, as I said, it becomes easier over time. Just stick with it, guys, and you'll be doing really well. So, like I said, when you're tracking, track as best you can. Learn about the foods, stick to complex carbohydrates, stick to your whole proteins, stick to your good fats, avoid kind of processed foods. It'll be a way to go. Not much for me to tell you. So yeah, anyway guys, that's it for me. Start afresh. If you don't make a change today, how will tomorrow be any different? Cheers.